Yeah.
Oh, yeah, everyone. Yeah. Okay. Okay. GM everyone, and welcome to another week with the Ethereum Nigeria weekly sectors. And for this week, we're going to be talking about it's going to be basically a technical session on pitching and submission strategies for hackathons. And we're going to basically focus on some tips on how to win, how to craft a winning pitch, and some submission best practices. So, welcome once again, and thanks for joining this session. Without further ado, I'm just going to introduce our speakers for today. We're going to be having three speakers. First, we're going to be having Idris. He is the founder of Web3 Africa. We're going to be having Mr. Enoch. He is the lead for Ethereum Nigeria. And we have a very, very special guest. We have Harry, which is, and he's the co-founder of the HackQuest platform. So this is going to be a very, very interesting session. If you're interested in participating in any hackathon and you're looking for like the best resources or the best way to win that hackathon and how to really pitch your project ideas in a way that you get the judges really interested in your project and really highlights the features of your projects. This is the best place to be. So welcome. And I'm going to give some time for our speakers to introduce themselves. I'm going to be passing the mic to Mr. Harry. He's the co-founder of the HackQuest platform and is basically going to give us like an overview of the HackQuest platform, the goal for the platform, and maybe some hackathons we need to watch out for on the HackQuest platform. So, Harry, thank you very, very much for joining us, and we are really glad you're here. So, over to you.
Sure, GM. Thank you for the introduction. I'll quickly share screen and give a quick overview of the HackQuest platform. So, um, can everyone see my screen okay?
Oh, yes, yes.
Awesome. Just a quick overview. So HackQuest is one of the leading Web3 developer ecosystem. So there are four primary elements of what we do. So one is learning, and then second is hackathon or building. Three is events or any community related initiative, and four is founders. So essentially, you can think of HackQuest as a one-stop shop from a beginner level developer in Web3 to a technical founder, right, and able to scale it to an actual business. So we help you along that journey from 0 to 1. So that's also why it says Web3 programming, Web3 community from 0 to 1. Um, for today, I wanted to quickly highlight a couple of the key features and things that you can do with the HackQuest platform. So this is also the Quest page where you earn some points and rewards, and obviously you can refer people and feed the duck. We actually wanted to drop some alpha that very soon the quacks will be able to you can dress them, you can change how they look, how they how what type of clothing, what type of accessories they will wear, and there's we're always shipping every 2 weeks. There's some new updates, so stay tuned, and leveling up your quack will not be a bad idea. And you're still very early in this journey. The platform only launched for a year. Obviously we're growing 30-40% month over month. So if you're seeing this video now, try sign up with you can use my referral code here if you want, and there will be a place where you ask for it. So feel free to use it if you want, and yeah, go register, try it yourself. Okay, I'm gonna dive into some of the key features now. So obviously, if you have an account existing, you can pick up where you left off and look at which of the ecosystem you're enrolled in. But let's say I want to explore. We recently launched OpenBnB. Developer track, and this is the first set of developer resources on top of BNB, which is the layer 2 for Binance Smart Chain. So let's do a few questions together. So I'll just quickly show you how it will look. So this, I already filled this question in. So it is filled right now, but on the left side you have a lot of learning resources, right? You have very quickly we'll go through the concept, like how do you think about dynamic array, and especially the access command in particular. And if you don't really understand array access, then you can really refer to the metaphor section, and then it will explain what is array, what is access, where when do you need access in a very logical way. If you're still relatively beginner level, you can take a look at real use case and see how the commands are used in an actual code base, right, in an actual project. For someone who's more advanced level, let's say you already know Rust, you know your Java, you know your Python, and have a lot of programming experiences, but are relatively new to Solidity, maybe all you need is concept and documentation. If you're really advanced level, let's say you have some Solidity background already, but you want a refresher, right? We have actually 5 courses on Solidity alone. You can start with the quests or the quizzes, and then check your answer, really work on these questions together. And then switch to, let's say, the new chapter every once in a while. If you don't know the questions, you can always ask AI. We have the AI trained on ecosystem docs as well as the content. We're the only platform right now that work with the foundations themselves to co-author the content. So let's say I want to understand this particular quiz, right? I can ask AI to help break it down for me, so to explain really the rationale behind it. You can always jump back and forth to each of the chapters you completed before, and then move down to the following chapters if you have any questions. We recommend people to report bugs. If you see anything, we fix these issues every single day, so that will makes our content better. One special thing about our learning tracks is, number one, it is the only place where you can get credentialized Sobound token or SVT that's unique and untransferable to you. And this is co-issued with the foundations themselves. So all the ones you see here are available options. So like BNB, Arbitrum, Solana, Ethereum, Mantle, Gaia, Sui, Telos, Eclipse, EDUChain, Zion, Sonic, Vera, and very soon many more. These are certified courses that that are official and up to date. You don't have to worry about learning it for let's say 2 weeks and realize some of the syntax or items are out of date. We always make sure they're up to date, and so you don't have to worry about all those kind of things. Another thing some folks may not realize is we have a lot of guided projects here. So take Arbitrum for example here. It includes a lot of tools, right? Let's say the Stylus Rust SDK. This is the first Stylus learning track or a set of resources in the world. And for guided projects, you can learn how to, let's say, launch an ERC20 token. You can create an NFT. These are very basic projects, but also more advanced level, let's say building some DeFi smart vaults, right? There's also yield farming protocol, how to create a crowdfunding project. How do you create a SocialFi project, right? How do you do forecaster frames, right? So there's a lot of also different types of guided projects that we teach you to code one by one, one line after another, and you can almost use it as a smart contract library down the line, where you're building your own project. The second part I want to dive into is the hackathons. This part I'll focus a little bit less. I'll just show the developer perspective, but I will also give you a quick glimpse into organizer in case anyone is, let's say, a hackathon organizer wanting to host a hackathon. So this is the EDUChain Global Hackathon, the star of the show. I won't dive too much into it because I know we'll go right into it. But you can see we're doing a lot of things together. There's a lot of it's a huge prize pool of 250,000. You can check out the schedule. Usually we would put information of how to register, what are some of the additional information, what's the agenda. If the event already happened, we usually put some of the photos of the events actually took place. If you need some developer resources, there's a section for it. Here we also showcase the partners as well as the media's co-host. You see ETHNigeria here. A lot of the projects that already submitted, you can take a look at their submissions and everything. I will give you a quick glimpse into how it looks in the backend. So if you are a hackathon organizer and want to host on HackQuest, get in touch with us. You can see right now over 235,000 people have already viewed this hackathon page alone. There's almost 2,700 people registered to participate and over 300 submissions. There's some privacy info, so I'll skip this part. You can send announcements and trigger them to the different type of emails, to the type of people you want to send to. It's fully customizable. The last thing I really want to highlight is the distribution part, is the UTM links. You can see where how much have each of the organizers contributed across different time zones. I won't dive into it because it shows which ecosystem or each community partner contributed the most, but you can really monitor the progress from all the partners that are contributing. So that's the hackathon. It should be relatively easy to register, to submit, and I definitely encourage you to give it a try. Third part is events. We hosted 121 events IRL globally last year. You can definitely take a look at some of the events we have hosted, and then see this is one at Machacos. There's a lot of virtual events that we did as well. But really globally, this one's in Shanghai, this one in Jalingo, in Kolkata, in Pakistan, in Chengdu, China, and so forth. Again, you should be able to find events across the globe and some at least near your city, especially if you're in Africa. We will be doing more and more stuff there. We have co-learning camps. So if you are, and by the way, everything on the platform is free for the users. So right now, let's say you don't want to do the self-guided learning, you want to experiment with other people and learn with others, you can enroll in one of the co-learning camps. So right now we have the co-learning camp 32 in China ongoing. That's for Arbitrum, and then Kenya ongoing. That's the very first one for EDUChain, Solana, and Gaia. And we have our 13th camp for India kicking off very soon with BNB and Gaia. We just finished Nigeria's first co-learning camp and some of the other previous ones. Very soon we'll be launching more Africa-specific ones, and probably that's welcoming for all the nearby countries. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, we have a lot of glossaries. So if you're very new to Web3, so let's say you want to understand certain terms. Let's say I want to understand what attestation is, right? So you can, there's some type of learning here. If I want to, like we talked about Arbitrum style lists earlier, there's always a blog article. In some cases, you might see our original artwork on the topic, as well as you can save these photos and even use it elsewhere. But that's glossary. We have a lot of blogs right now. You can check. One of the things I wanted to highlight later in the video is the best practices for Web3 hackathon project submission. You can also find this in our blog section. We have a faucet. So if you are a developer, this is almost a small secret. We have a lot of faucets here that you can use. We have more and more coming each day, and the main difference between our faucet is it doesn't really require there's no fuss. That doesn't require you to have midnight ETH, or doesn't require you to send a social media post. You just put it in your wallets and it drips in like 15 seconds. So it's definitely a gold mine here that we don't usually advertise because we only have so many tokens. If you want to apply for jobs, there's plenty different type of engineering, design, marketing. It's an aggregator here. It's completely free as well. Feel free to leverage. The last thing I wanted to highlight is the founder portal. So many of you know that we started many years ago as a founders community. So supporting founders has always been our bread and butter. One of the first things you will see is the NTU MOOC. So NTU is one of the top universities in the globe, the best in Asia for technology. NTU Nanyang Technological University. They're based in Singapore. I believe number 15 ranked in the world right now. And we did an open source or a massive open source curriculum with them from last year around May, and we actually didn't finish until around December. So it really lasted for like 7 months. It's a holistic viewpoint of everything crypto, from very beginner level smart contracts, the developer perspective. We had Austin Griffith from the Ethereum Foundation. We had a guy out to talk about infrastructure. We had founder of Dodo to talk about Fine DeFi. A lot of legendary speakers like Dr. Felton, Mr. Scott Moore from Gitcoin. We had Yacht from Animoca Brands, Dr. Sergey Grabanov from founder of Axlar, Hader, CMO of OKX, and folks from Ethereum, Solana foundations, and so forth. Investor perspective, founder perspective, open source entrepreneur perspective, and many regards. Before diving into Accelerator, we have a flagship event series called Web3 Dev Huddle. We had 2 in the past, one in Singapore, one in Bangkok. Many of you might have went in the past. Obviously, amazing lineup of speakers, and you can watch a lot of the. One thing about these events is you can actually watch the interviews we had with them, or even in some cases the full panel, to get a sense if you weren't able to attend. The Bangkok one was also amazing. We had some really amazing speakers from all the major ecosystems and Web3 AI and also on the on the other sides, like community and university and so forth. Last thing I wanted to highlight, this is for more advanced folks here who probably run their own company or contribute actively. We have accelerators here. These are 2, actually both closed. Both are actually getting ready to start running. The application periods are gone. But just a quick glance, we have a lot of these accelerator programs. We'll have more that are launching soon. And this one's Mental's very first global accelerator. You see a lot of amazing folks from Third Web, from Alchemy, from obviously Mental, Community Gaming, Trader Joe. You get $20,000 of grants, as well as opportunity to pitch to 30 plus investors, pitch to EcoFund, and so forth. The Solana one is also super exciting. It's Solana's very first APAC accelerator ever, and we have a lot of legendary folks here. I think my internet's a little slow, but like Merge from Helios, like Armani and Ken from Backpack. You probably know Yu from Kaido. That's from Chris, CEO of founder of Sonic SVM. Like Edison from Qtis, Sean from Redux, James from Jumbo, and so forth. Many of them were our past fellows, actually in the Solana Fellowship Program back in 22 and 23, and many of them are now mentors now. And obviously, we have a lot of legendary mentors here supporting the entire program. So if you're more advanced level, check it out. Overall, again, HackQuest is a platform that supports builders and founders from 0 to 1. So really from oh, my screen is not showing. Were you able to see my screen? Not able to see it the entire time, or just the last few minutes? Oh, you can see it. Okay, cool. Okay, that's great. Yeah, so that's that's a little bit about HackQuest. And if you are a developer, you're a builder, you're a founder, or aspiring founder or developer, feel free to check us out on HackQuest.io, and then feel free to connect with us on Twitter, on Telegram, and I'll drop my my Twitter as well as my Telegram here. Yeah, always happy to chat. Thanks so much.
Thanks for that overview. That was really, really detailed. And I think I really love the HackQuest platform, how it caters to everything from the learning process to the hacking process and then down to the founder mode. It's kind of like puts everything all together for everyone. So really thank you for that overview. And we have our next speaker here, Idris GM. Thank you for joining us. Idris is the founder of Web3 Africa, a community that is dedicated to the development of the Web3 space in Africa. So, GM Idris, introduce yourself and kind of like introduce the community to us. Thank you. Oh, you are mute.
Yeah, sorry, am I audible now?
Oh, yeah, you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you guys for joining. My name is Idris Olubisi, and I'm really excited to be here today. So we have a few things to talk about, and if at any point in time you can't hear me or you can't see my screen, please just call my attention to it. I would be happy to like fix it immediately. I'm trying to present my screen right now.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Oh, yeah, I can see your screen.
You can see my screen now, yeah?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? So, like I said earlier, we are going to talk about a few things, but most importantly, we want to talk about how to craft a compelling project pitch. So, you might have heard and seen a lot of project pitch, either the good ones, the really good ones, the average one, or the not so good ones. But we'll take a deeper look on what are some of the things that make the good ones or like the excellent ones stands out. And then what exactly do you need to do better? We'll take through this discussion and it's going to be a bit conversational. So if you're following through, please just pay attention to some of these points I'll be talking about. So a bit about me, my name is Idris Olubisi. I am a software engineer and also a technical writer, a builder myself, currently working as a developer relations engineer at Interrupt Lab, focusing on the Axela network. And then you can find me on all social media platforms at Planesoft. So to proceed, I mentioned this earlier. I'm developer advocate at Axela, founder of Web3 Africa, and also a developer DAO, contributor and a member, and a technical writer at different organizations, Free Code Camp, Section Engineering, Media Jams, Cloudinary, and some other platforms that you might have seen before. I also create Web3 technical content for different platforms like Ashnode, Rocket, Moralis, Alchemy, Infura, and so on and so forth. But then most importantly, what you will learn in this session is about, we'll kind of talk about things that are very important and peculiar to pitching your project ideas. I know we are all developers or like, designer or contributor at different level. And sometimes it's very hard for us to get what it takes for us to pitch projects and also how to pitch it effectively in such a way that you can convince like the judge, the investors on how good or how fit your projects are, and then what are some of the solutions your project is solving. So first we'll talk about why great pitch matters. We talk about the power of storytelling, and then we also take a look at some of the essential elements that contribute to like storytelling. and how you can structure your pitch, how you can engage your audience, and finally we talk about the common mistakes you should avoid whenever you are giving presentation or whenever you are given the opportunity to pitch your project at any point. It might be a closed door presentation, it might be a presentation between 3 people, 4 people, 100 people. I think the same thing applies everywhere. So but the first thing I want us to like take a step back and think about is, have you ever seen a brilliant idea that fell flat because of a boring pitch? To me personally, I've seen that a lot. Right. I've been in the case where in a position of judging some project of some startup ideas, or having to be present at hackathon finals, where I see how people pitch project, and not because the project is not a good project, but at the end of the day, they weren't able to convince us, the judge, at the time of pitching the project because of how boring their pitch are and also how vague it was during the presentation. But then, why does this exist? A great idea that is poorly communicated gets overlooked. That's the simple thing behind it. And also another point is investor lose interest. So think of it, I'm using investor here as an example because ideally where you find yourself pitching projects is either you want to like get interest from investors, or like somebody that are really interested in your company, and you want them to come and invest or like give you or come in as an advisor, or something like that. So in that case, if you don't pitch correctly, they lose interest, and that means you don't get to harness that opportunity or like get the opportunity in your hands. But then how do you know a great pitch? What are some key components behind any pitch where you find them and you be like, yes, this is great and I'm really impressed, and now I want to spend my money, or like I want to write them a check? First, you need to know what makes them different. It's not about the idea. Most times it's about how you pitch the ideas. That's why you've seen a lot of posts or like activities around elevator pitch, all of those things are just a way to tell you that it's about how you tell your story or how you pitch your idea to somebody, but not just only about the idea. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't know how to tell it correctly, you have a problem doing that. But the key takeaway is first impression counts. This is very important. And then the whole point of, if you missed a pitch, that's a missed chance. That's just as simple as it is, right? The whole point of how best or what exactly do you need to tell people about your idea is mostly centered around these two things, because you want to give a lasting impression, and then you want to make it memorable in such a way that the person can always make reference to your project and also what you're trying to solve. Now let's talk about the power of storytelling. When I was going to like what we would talk about throughout this talk, I mentioned like storytelling. It's also important for me to note how important it is for you to craft a story, or like the power behind you telling a story about the problem you want to solve. So it's as simple as saying, from your problem, you tell us something, a story around the problem, and then how that translates to the solution you are building, and then how your solution translates to the impact you want to have. So the first thing to note here is that story is way better than specifications. How? Human love stories, right? And then the most important thing about it is that your pitch should not only be centered around like a report, or should look like a dry report. It should be a narrative that is captivating to both the audience and also the judge or the investors. So when you pitch as a story, you connect emotionally and become memorable to any judge or anyone listening to you. So right now you're listening to this talk, right? And then you're paying attention to some of the things I'm talking about. That is exactly how you can take people from what it sees from the problem today, and then what it will look like after you sharing your story. So first, one of the things to know is that stories is greater than spec, and then human love stories. You should get used to crafting a compelling story that align with your problem or what you're trying to solve. That way you won't have issues with people understanding what you're trying to solve. Another one is to structure your story. Of course, you want to tell a story, but you don't want to just keep it open-ended without having to tailor it to something. So one thing to follow, which is going back to my initial point of problem to solution to impact, is you want to introduce the problem and the pain point. That's the first thing you want to do. So first foot is after introducing the problem, then you can now present your solution. So in the case of presenting the solution, this is where like the whole thing sets in, because now you've told the problem and then you want to present what's your project and then how your project is going to solve it. So after that, the next thing you should take note of is highlight the impact. Yes, your solution is good, but your solution is not enough if you can't tell us how lives of businesses can be improved with the solution you're trying to solve. So three key things here: introduce the problem and the pain point, present your solution, and then highlight the impact on how lives and businesses will be improved with your solution. Of course, obviously solving the problem that you just narrated, or like the story you just narrated around the problem. So the second one is structure your project. The third one is make it relatable. People want to understand how those things impact them directly. So now think about it beyond just your judge. Think about your audience. Using antidotes and metaphors, your audience will understand, right? And then trying to make it relatable in such a way that they can find those examples on a day to day. Right. This is different. This is even different from using like a real world example. Making it relatable in such a way that, let's say an example, you're having a problem swapping things, or like, let me use an example of maybe you want to make a payment online. You're having a particular problem making that payment, but payment works on the platform. But particularly for you, you're having problem to move maybe your money from one bank to the other, maybe due to restriction or like region restriction. That's a problem that you found out, and probably that solution is not, that company that is handling the payment processing is not solving your problem at the time, right? So now you can relate to this particular problem and you want to solve it. If you want to tell somebody else about the problem, you will narrate your experience that you have with the existing payment processor, like payment platform, and then how you try to, you know, find a workaround for it, and now how you're trying to build a solution that will solve that problem. That way, I'm very sure like a lot of people might be able to relate with your experience that you're having with payment processes, because of course that's not like a one-off experience. It's experience that anybody can experience anywhere in the world. So that way you can tell it, you tell a story and you make that story a relatable story that people can understand. And then the next one is, after now you're done with like the storytelling, you need to think about how you want to structure your pitch, because you don't want to just tell a story, structure the story, and then at the end of the day, your story does not align with what you're trying to pitch. So structuring your pitch is very important. And then why do you even need to structure your pitch? There are a few things here that I listed here, and they're kind of self-explanatory, but then we'll go through it real quick. Is grabbing a hook is very important. So when you step on the stage or you turn on your screen to start your presentation, you should start with a hook that can hook an audience from the beginning till when you narrate the problem that you're trying to solve. So grabbing a hook could be something that come off your problem that you're trying to narrate or the story you're trying to tell. So that should be part of your pitch. So let's say you prepare a slide, you should put that as part of, oh, when I get to this stage or at the beginning of the talk, this is my entrance hook, and this is how I want to keep the audience glued till the end of my pitch. You remember that pitch does not really take like a long time. It's mostly around 5 to 10, 15 minutes max. Another thing is state the problem. I think I've talked about this before, but when you are structuring your pitch, your deck or your slide or anything that you're preparing your PowerPoint, you need to state the problem. And then number three is to show your solution, how your solution is going to solve the problem, and then how your solution is going to help improve life and businesses. And then to the next one is prove your a market fit. If you started like a pilot program for that particular project, then it's good to talk about it. Talk about what you have been able to do with the little resource, or what your pilot program have been able to result to, and then how you are looking for that to like take that particular pilot program to production to even get more people, to give more people access to your product. And then highlight your impacts. Now you know that these things that you have done, the pilot program you've run, these are the level of impact that you've gotten, and this is where you want to go to. You need to state all of those things. And finally, you need to have a strong call to action. You don't want to leave it as a dead, open conversation when you're preparing or structuring your pitch. So your call to action could be like, this is what we're looking for, this is the amount, and then this is how we want to spend it, and this is how you can get in touch with us. So getting in touch could be like speaking, email, or like even finalizing while you're trying to pitch, and then making everything open. But that's not all. Structuring your pitch is very important. Your pitch rather is very important. But at the same time, you need to talk about how you want to engage your audience while you're trying to give that particular pitch. Number one that I highly recommend for anybody or any builder or any founder building projects currently is to try as much as possible to make your pitch conversational in such a way that people can understand the tone, and it's very, very, very simple and straightforward. So conversational, you can make it rhetorical. They don't have to like give you a feedback at the time of pitching, but you make it in a way that it sounds like a question to anybody listening to you. And then your next statement should be a statement that can answer that particular question that they have in mind, or like the question that you rhetorically threw back to the audience. Positively, but body language is also one big deal when it comes to giving your pitch and also engaging the audience. You need to be positive. You need to make sure that your body language during the presentation is captivating enough, and then it gives like some positive energy and positive vibes. Then the next one is to connect with eye contact. So you can pick like any of the audience or like the judges or anybody listening to you at the time. Try to get an eye contact so that you feel comfortable sharing those, your experience, and also going through the pitch without having any issues, like without having to feel like any stage fright or any of these things. This is like particular for a physical pitch, not probably remote or things like that you don't get to see like people directly, but you just give your pitch. And very important, use strong visuals, because one thing that is centered around storytelling is also visuals. The visuals goes a very long way. If you add visual while you're trying to tell your story, it paints some kind of picture plus your story in people's mind, so people can remember your story, and then remember probably there's a particular thing they can relate with your story. It makes the whole conversation stay glued in their mind or like in their head, and then they kind of relate to what you're saying. And even at the end of the day, they want to make recommendation or like judge your product, they can easily connect with some of your visuals and some of the experiences that you share. And of course, energy and pacing is very important. There's a difference between wait and then trying to pause to get people's attention, and then trying to continue by saying, oh yeah, this is what you want to do, and this is how you tend to do it. And also, there's also something different, like if you want to get for this is particularly for pacing, right? You start with your hook, you started giving your talk, but at some point probably you're sharing like a lot of really interesting information, but still people can still miss out. But pausing in between, trying to slow down a bit, because this information might be new to a couple of people, like a lot of people in the audience. Getting your pace right means that people can listen to what you're saying, and they can also follow up because you know better than they do. And then talking sometimes might be really too fast or really too slow for some of your audience. So you need to learn how to pace properly and also giving the right energy. But then with all of this, set apart on what makes you, structuring your pitch and some of the things you should do. But what exactly do you need to stand out? That's one question I like to ask myself. In fact, when I'm applying to things or like trying to convince somebody or trying to explain something to somebody, especially when it's a pool of submission, I always like to look for something that will make me stand out. But in all of this process, what exactly can make you stand out from like millions or hundreds of people? Number one, when it comes to pitch, you need to prioritize clarity. Be clear as much as possible. You don't need any jargons. You don't need any technical jargons. You don't need anything. Just focus on what exactly your project is solving, how your project is solving it, your market fit, and some of the other things. And also, conciseness is also very important. You don't have to read verbatim. I think it's even a bad idea from reading verbatim from like your slide, because you need to know your slide in out, and at the same time put a minimal information. Let the focus be on you, the presenter, other than your slide. And number three is like confidence. I know this does not come easily, but over time you should be confident and comfortable talking about some of the things that you want to share. And that way you can give an impression that yes, this person knows what he or she is doing. And finally, you should add like real world examples. It makes your pitch stand out, even if there are some other people that they do not have like real world examples to their stories. Try to, we've talked about it before, where I was talking about like making it relatable, sharing your experience. That's one way to give like a real world example, connecting with something that at least 1% of your audience listening to you have experienced about. That way you can hook them, how you can hook the entire audience throughout your presentation, and that could literally make you stand out from hundreds of people. Now we'll talk about like the good part, what you should do, but what exactly do you need to avoid, like common mistakes, and then how can you fix them? Of course, you don't want to just learn about the mistake without how you can fix them. The first one is information overload. It is very important to keep your slide minimal, to keep the content you churn out or like explanation very concise. You don't want to overload the audience with so many information. So I keep using the word audience. This include both that are there during the presentation and including the judges, mentors, or like investors that you want to like reach out to. Information overload is a problem if you're trying to pitch an idea. This is a very common mistake that people want to share. Now, my project is doing a lot of things, so I want people to know. Yes, fine. You can let people know, but in a way that you can just give an highlight. When they are interested or when they want to learn more, they can reach out to you. You can talk to them to share even more experience on that. But giving an overview should shed more light, and also wait for the Q&A session to answer some of the specific questions that is going to niche down some of the overview that you gave earlier on. Another one is unclear value proposition, right? So when we are talking about our pitch, it's very easy for us to get carried away with like the exact value proposition that you are trying to get out of the whole conversation. So when you're trying to give that pitch, if it's not clearly stated on what are some of the value proposition and what are some of the things that the investors, like people, can get out from your pitch, you can easily miss out during the presentation. And these are mistakes that you should avoid. Number three is too much jargon or tech talk. I know you are using one of the best technology in the world to build your project. I know you have your tools, you have updated packages, you're using most recent tool, but try to avoid all of these toolings. Focus more on how you are using those tools to solve a problem. Nobody cares about if you are using the fastest framework. What they really care about is the problem you're trying to solve. So try as much as possible to avoid too much jargon or tech talk and focus on the core problems and the solution that you're trying to propose to solve that particular problem. No narrative, just data. Give data where it is necessary. This percentage of people probably telling a story, maybe you are building a solution for a climate solution, or a solution that is solving a problem that would impact like millions of people. Give data about who have been affected by that particular problem. Name your source if possible, by just like talking about it, that you've referenced this number of people, and then due to this result it has resulted to so percentage of people. So give plain data. No, don't give narrative, and then don't try to come up with scenario or hypothetical scenario, because now you're telling people the actual thing. So you need to go straight to your point and then back it up with an existing data that you might have. Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier on. Reading the slides but verbatim is a very common mistake that you should avoid. You should know your slide in and out. And I'll get to a part where I'll talk about how you can get to know your slide in and out without having to read them verbatim. Ignoring time limits is also another mistake to avoid, please. When you want to give a pitch, try to understand how many minutes are they giving individual pitch. Pay attention to that. Do some sort of practice ahead of time that would make you work, or like that will make you understand the kind of point or the presentation you want to give, and then within the limits that you need to give those presentations. And then not adapting to audience is also another thing. Maybe when you step into the room, you notice maybe something happened during the day. It could be a joke, it could be something that all the audience talked about. During your presentation, you can try to hook that in somewhere to get people's attention. But when you ignore all of these things and then just go straight like to what you have in mind, that might not really because understanding your audience is also one big important thing that you need to understand. But when you just have something that you plan in your head and you don't want to like adapt with whatever is going on within the environment at the time, sometimes you might miss out on some opportunity to hook some of your audience into what you're trying to say. And that might not be the best. You should avoid like mistakes. These are part of the mistakes you should avoid, and try to adapt to like audience and see the behavior of the room, see what is going on within the room at the time you want to give your presentation, and try to use that to your advantage. So now let's quickly take you back and talk about like the final key takeaways and also action steps, of course, that you should take into consideration. First, practice, practice, practice. I think we need to stress this because the more you practice, the more you get better at what you're doing, and the more you get really, really good at pitching that your particular idea, considering all of these things I've talked about, the storytelling part, the structuring your pitch, how you can reach your audience, what are some of the common mistakes you should avoid. Practicing is the only way that can make you better. Face your mirror now and then to practice. Do a mock interview with some of your colleagues, your friends on your project idea. Let them correct you and time it in such a way that you can fall within specific time. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes. You can fall in between that period without having to lose track of time, and to make things better. So number 2 is time and polish your delivery. Yes, this is still going back to time. Polish your delivery a lot. If there are some things you need to remove from your, when you're explaining, remove it, make it concise, make it straightforward, and make sure that it communicates the whole point that you're trying to do. You can scrutinize like an idea that would that you can talk about for like 1 hour. You can bring it down to 30 minutes. You can bring it down to 15 minutes. You can bring it down to 5 minutes. So you can do it in such a way that you go straight to key points. That way you can polish your delivery and make sure that it works in line with the timing. So slide and tech check. No, this is like one big thing you should always remember, and for any reason you should not ignore is you need to check your slide now and then, make sure it's up to date, make sure you're using a slide that is very presentable, and consider light mode and dark mode. All of these things really matter because you don't know where your slide and how your slide will be presented. Maybe it's like a typography thing that will not be really visible if you end up showing it, if you have too much designs and all of those things. So you need to pay attention to all those things and how you can make the most out of it. Yeah, I think I talked about time and polish your delivery already. Refine with feedback. I mentioned like doing mock interview. The only reason you are doing that is not because you just want to do it for fun, but you want to use it to refine what you currently have, and those feedback will help you prepare as a better person. So above all, those are like the feedback and key takeaways. But one thing I like to keep out there is you try your best and continue to try, but make sure that you're intact, and then you maintain your steeze and composure ahead of any other thing happening during your pitch. I'm rooting for you guys, and I'm really excited to see the ideas you all are building, or the ideas you all come up with in this particular program. So thank you so much. This is a QR code you can scan. Let me know if you find this talk helpful, and what are some of the things I can do to make this type of talks even way better for you to understand. Yeah, it takes less than 1 minute to fill the survey, and I'm really looking forward to your submission. You can find me on Online Salt if you need any help or like have any questions. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for your wonderful presentation. I think you really hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
think you really hit the nail on the head. Now I feel like you've actually answered most of the questions. I don't even have any other questions to ask. And really thank you for that presentation. And I'm going to go back to the agenda. So the next speaker was supposed to have is Mr. Enoch, the leader of ETHNigeria, and is going to briefly touch on some documentation requirements, some code quality metrics, and then some evaluation priorities for Hackathon. I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Enoch, can you hear me?
GM, everyone. I can hear you.
Over to you. The floor is yours.
Okay. All right. GM, everyone. I want to appreciate Mr. Harry Idris for doing quite justice. And uh, for as many that are hacking, and for those that will also be hacking, we encourage you. So we're putting a whole lot of bandwidth to make sure that you're successful in this hackathon. So my presentation goes this way. Let me share my slide. Uh, okay, just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Okay, almost there. Okay, let me see. I'm having a bit technical issues. You just give me like 2 minutes, I said.
Okay, no problem. We're there. While that is going on, I think I'll just pass the mic over to Mr. Harry. If you could give us like some additional winning tips on hackathon, some things that we need to look out for in hackathons. Some addition, especially from your years of expertise working with people starting out and working with founders. So how do we get that point from ideation phase to full execution and like some key tips?
Sure. What I can do is probably send, if you also, you can help me send this link in the chat. This will be helpful. So a member of our team actually authored a blog. So instead of converting it to a slide, I figured I would just share this blog and kind of go through this a little more in detail. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. How's it now?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So I dropped the link to the blog post in the chat. So hopefully you can also obviously search for it as well. But we kind of listed what are some of the good practices, right? What we consider to be qualified project, meaning is a valid hackathon submission, and some of the best practices. So once we think qualities, how do you win hackathons? You should probably do these things. Due to the time constraint, I'll quickly go through these. But what we consider to be the essentials, right? Really the basics. It should have complete documentation. It should include a demo video. It should include proper deployment to the testnet or mainnet, depending on the protocol, and code submission on GitHub. So what does that mean? So obviously, complete documentation means it should have a README file that has a clear structure. I mean, people can follow along. It discusses the technical stack. It ideally includes the contract itself, as well as the instructions on how do you proceed, right? Is there any installation required? Is there any particular notes you want to discuss about the code itself, or maybe some of the design choices that you have, right? So I think having a proper README file will be very important, because most of the judges will be taking that into consideration, and in general, just helpful to have people understand what exactly are you building. Deployments, this is what we consider to be a very basic requirement, but it's surprising that we have to keep mentioning this. But there are some platforms that would require that allow people to submit, let's say, a project built on Base, right, to, as let's say, Arbitrum, because they're both EVM compatible, and I'm talking about, let's say, Arbitrum 1, right, and then it's all using Solidity, and there's not really code really change required, because both are very mature ecosystem. Most of the integrations and plugins are available, so it's pretty much just a fork, or not even a fork. You can just submit the same project, and in many cases, people, let's say, submit to Base, will submit the same project to Arbitrum Hackathon, and that's obviously automatically disqualified. Make sure you deploy to the right chain. Make sure your name, like I've seen some project called like base dot fund, right? But they're submitted to Arbitrum Hackathon. That not only disqualifies you, probably will get you on, the blacklist of something. It's definitely something I recommend you to do, because I know it's very tempting to resubmit the same projects, and that's probably okay if you, let's say, make some changes to it, but make sure you deploy to the right chain, including a demo video. Even better, a pitch video. I think short and sweet, right? I think that's something I think previously was mentioned. Design choices, as well as showcasing the actual product features, is awesome, but it's very important to keep it concise and direct. 2 to 5 minutes is more than sufficient to demonstrate the core features, as well as the how beautiful the product is and whether it works or not. And that's pretty much it, right? You include your Vercel deployment, or even better, an actual deployed site. And judges will see it if they want to. They can experiment it. But if you submit like a 15-minute demo video, there's a good chance they won't see it all, right? There's a good chance they won't watch the whole thing, and that could actually hurt your chance of winning. Last thing is obviously pushing commits to GitHub, and again, this is very basic, but if you don't push, then nobody can see what you built, right? And that's usually pretty important, unless it's like a super important proprietary code base, where make sure you share with the judges, right? You get their emails, and then you share the access at least with them. Yeah, comprehensive submission, these are pretty much just means including all these information. Here are the practices we recommend as best practices, right, for hackathon submission. Like, how do you win, right? So that means I'll start with what I think is probably the most important. I think I just mentioned it before as well. Obviously, high quality optimized code, but also like very a functional UI, and even better, good UI UX, right? Comprehensive submission, meaning it includes most of the information. Multiple project submission, that's something we'll address as not really a best practices. It's more something we'll address later. And then deployment on testnet with full functionality, detailed demo video is more of an extension of the good practices. So I'll start actually with the functional UI. There's a reason why people keep, and we talk about this since the previous AMA as well. All of us mentioned having a good UI is important, especially for the landing page, right? And for some of the core features and core functionalities. There are a few projects I reviewed in semester 1 and semester 2. Really, the biggest difference is not really on the smart contracts, whether it's usable or not, right? We're looking for products people actually like to use. Sometimes, smart contract difference is very, very minor, or it might even be the same smart contract. But if you have very good design choice, it looks better, and the UI UX more friendly, has maybe some more features, has more of a branding and social presence, people choose to use it more, right? So, and that way, of course, ecosystem prefer to work with projects with more long-term sustainability and more long-term potential. So so that's something very important to note. One story I had was back when we were kickstarting the very first Ethereum Chicago hackathon. The very first one, I think the first top 3 places in the analytics track was all really, there weren't really much smart contract code. It was mainly, the first place was they visualized DeFi inflows and outflows, especially with accumulation of assets by the biggest whales, right, in the space. And they actually converted the whales into actual whales, like a 3-dimensional whales visualized for like bridges and for some of the key infrastructure. So people can actually see, oh, this whale is beautiful, is really big, and the size is proportional to how much assets they hold, right? So it's actually a very cool concept. It's something I would totally use it if it's actually deployed and still live today. But really, it wasn't really a very complicated project from a smart contract perspective. It's more of a UI UX choice, right? So sometimes even the biggest hackathons or like really cool hackathons, they think about usability, right? They think about do people like it? And that was a really good example of building a very cool project with functional UI. It was user friendly enough. It was simple enough, and people really like it. Obviously, having a live link will be very important. If it's not live deployed on an actual site, then consider deploying it on one of those host services like Vercel. The others I'll quickly go through. Like deployment on testnets. I think that's very straightforward, right? You make sure it is actually deployed. Make sure the URL is correct, and double check it, your address on the block explorer to make sure it's fully functional. Code, right? There's obviously a lot of optimization that could be done. To be frank with you, I think this one is less of a thing until you reach midnight deployment. When at a hackathon level, we do look at some of the code bases, but really it's more about the results. But when you're actually getting ready to deploy to midnight, this will be extremely important. You want to make it as efficient as possible, as clear as possible, and obviously don't have any actual security concerns, right? That's what audits will suggest you to do as well. But obviously, when you're building it, optimizing, well, is definitely not a bad idea. A detailed demo video. So I think the demo video itself just showcases some of the problems that you may have, or the key functionalities of the project itself, talking about how the features are used, what are some of the maybe even the roadmap for the future, right? So I personally always like to say, oh, here we have these 5 core features, but in the next 1 or 2 months, we plan to build the next 2 to 3 more features. That to judges actually showcase, oh, you're thinking about the future, you have a clear roadmap, you know what you're doing. Give you a few more months, you might build a product that's really, really cool. Maybe not right away, but we bet on teams, right? So when I was working at an early stage VC, one of the biggest lessons I learned was investing in people, because people, like very talented folks, they can pivot their project and make it incredible in the time frame of weeks, right? There was one friend of mine, actually, they built a project I actually didn't think was really good, and I said, I pinpointed a lot of issue with that product, and then I said, I'm obviously still advocating for you, very bullish on it, but this current product, there's no way you can attract a lot of capital, and there's no way you can win the hearts of many users. Give them 3 weeks later, right? They completely changed the design and a lot of the core features. And I obviously I like to think I contributed a little bit, but I think that store, and then they became Apple app of the day. So in the App Store, and the download was, I think, top 3 or top 4 in their category for the whole month. They were at one point the highest downloaded in their category, and that was a really good example of how including a roadmap, including like a direction, having good UI UX, and also receptive to feedback, can do to a project, right? Because when we evaluate teams, that's also a part of that discussion, especially for these type of hackathons that are much larger, right? We're looking at it beyond just a short-term hackathon win. We're looking at it almost, do you have potential to get into an incubator, get into an accelerator? A lot of these Solana hackathons actually follow a similar path, right? After the hackathon, you get a chance to join their accelerator, join their incubator. There's a lot of the EDUChain one is a Arbitrum Orbit chain, is a L3. It's also a good example of a project where we like to see you wanting to have a clear roadmap to success. Comprehensive submission, I think that's relative. We talk about it. The multiple project submission, that's one thing, is a commonly asked question, is a frequently asked question. So wanted to address it here. Typically, you're allowed to submit multiple projects, but each one of them needs to be different, right? Meaning it can just be like the same smart contract and the same, let's say, the back end, and then the front end is just largely the same, maybe a slight difference, and then you change the name, you submit. That's obviously a no. It will disqualify you and most likely put you on the blacklist. That being said, if you, let's say, have 5 different cool projects that are all around those lines, and
Okay. Only if you can hear me. From my understanding, can you hear me? I think I will about it. Okay, I think Ari is done with his presentation. We can move on to you if your slide is ready. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. Can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I can see it now.
All right, GM everyone. Apologies for technicalities. All right, I'm going to add to what we've been discussing, and hold on. And that will be basically on submission essentials, a comprehensive guide. So a lot of us are hacking, and we want to see that you guys, bring the trophy back home, back to Africa. And there are some stuffs we all need to like adhere to. So I'll give you a story. I'm going to start it this way. Uh, it was a last minute submission, and then we have Tunde, we have Chika, you know, and we have Ada, all building these solutions. And the time was reading 11:45 p.m., just like 15 minutes before the hackathon deadline. And then today, and his team they built a very incredible decentralized storage solution using the Ficon, you know, um, s- protocol. But something happened. Panic set up when they realized that they were missing um, the proper documentation. So, guys, guess what? So that is bringing us back to README, an overview, the API docs, and everything. And Chika, not when they realized it, Chika just exclaimed, checking out how messy the repo was. And then there was this approach that they didn't give up. Remember, it was just 15 minutes to the deadline, so they just had to the sweat dripped from Tunde's forehead. All of a sudden, they just applied the divide and conquer, strategy. You know, a README file was quickly set up by David. David was also in the team, so and he quickly drafted the setup instructions. And Chika also was able to like summarize the project overview, the project statement, and then Ada was able to like use was able to document every tool that was used in the project. Every tool that was used, she was able to like. Then Tunde also sketched out the endpoints. So you're looking at the API now I'm talking about the API documentation now. So Tunde was able to like sketch out the endpoints, and then um, team details. They each all add their names and their roles. So within 15 minutes, they were able to like click the submit button, and that was how they submitted, meeting 12 a.m. Um, deadline. So, what's the moral of this story? Um, a great project without proper documentations is like a car without fuel. A fuel, So it's brilliant, but it's useless. You're having a beautiful car, a wonderful car, but there's no fuel to move ahead. So you need to like look out for your documentation. I hope you get the gist here. Um, can anyone hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you loud and clear.
Okay, so that's fine. So that's about documentation. So we go down to the code quality metrics. Yes, initially, if you look at their previous weekly cycles, we talked about simplicity. At least the CTO, I talked about simplicity. So this marketing, we don't need so much complex works, but the ideas you've heard from Idris, have a good story, you know, you wouldn't, and then you look at our own vicinity, just look at the African ecosystem where we're coming from, and then craft out a story around this. Now, I also have a story around this now. Um, it's going to illustrate the bug that almost cost the price. Now there's a price, 250K is at stake. And then meanwhile, we also have another hackathon, a regional hackathon here in Lagos. and that's like a 1.5 million is at stake. So back to this slide of mine. So we're looking at the bulk that costs the price of some certain groups of developers. Um, Tommy had a team and they built a DeFi lending protocol, just something very, very, you know, something very, very new. Like it's what the ecosystem needs. The UI was sleek, the idea was solid, the demo worked, In fact, the judges ran their own tests. But at the point of running their tests, there was an alert. It's a bug alert. A simple input validation flaw allowed all the users to withdraw more than they had deposited. So that was what they were able to detect. Just a simple input validation. So it was able to like flaw all what like if there's a lot of deposits in the protocol, with what the judges ran, they were able to discover the flaw, and that is prone to hack. So how did they miss this? So they were panicking, started coming up from different places. Where did they go wrong? No error handling, no error handling for negative or extreme values. They forget to validate the user inputs before execution transaction. Smart contracts weren't structured properly, making debugging nightmare. So it brings out to this, point. Um, as you're, building your solutions, what you need to like be conscious about, what could save you or what could save your submission, because some of these codes are being tested, so the linting code review, so this catch errors early before submission, so you try to like carry out some tests, in as phases you can just run your test in phases. Talking about the modular maintainable code, the functions can be clear, and then make sure that it's reusable, so something simple, clear, and you can always use it. So you have to be with the Bybit hack now, so we must be conscious with security, validate inputs to prevent overflows, and try to see how as much as possible as you can optimize usage. Everybody's trying to see you know how seamless the solution is, how cost effective it is. So these are some stuff you need to like learn. So what is the lesson learned from this story I shared here? A single security lapse or inefficiency can sink a project. So there should be always reviewing, debugging, and tests before submission. So very good. This hackathon, there's a lot of times. We have a lot of time. It's going to run from now to the end of this month. So you have a lot of time to like check out your code quality, check out your security wise, and yeah. So I hope you got the gist here. And then the next one is from the judges. So you're looking at evaluation, the priorities. So the judges, they're looking at your product. They want to see how innovative it is, um, and how unique. Is this something that has been done somewhere? How unique it is. So we're on a very advantage side, because we're in Africa, so it's a whole lot of usage, a lot of use cases are coming up. So there are so many ideas springing forth that has never been built. So we need to like tap it and make it more African. So what's your solution? What is it aligning to? So look at the bounties, look at the sponsors, go check what they're doing, go check their plans, and then um, okay. So again, you need to also look at your technical feasibilities, and then again, another thing again is the UI UX. You, as powerful as your product will be, try as much as possible to have a very sleek, seamless UI UX. That alone, just add it, give it more aesthetics, and then look at the real world. What are you solving? So these are stuff you need to like pay attention to. So regarding disqualifications, you need to know, so you have all the whole time to get organized, work as a team. Remember the first story I shared about Chika, Dan, David, and Co. You could see within 15 minutes they were able to like solve everything about documentations and stuff like that. Division of labor. So it's good to hack alone, solo hacker, beautiful, and then it is more better to hack as a team. So the hack quest is on. So we have a lot of guys hacking. If you're hacking alone and you need um, a colleague, a partner, join the Telegram, and then we could always hook you up. If you don't be alone, and then we'll be having the regional hackathon here in Lagos. So take advantage of this if you're around there, and it's actually for all. So it's time for you to like ask questions and get the whole thing. So watch out for incomplete submissions, plagiarized. Uh, Try to be more original. Um, Try to look at your demo. Try to don't ignore submission deadlines. Just try as much as possible. As a wrap up, questions you should anticipate. Look at these questions on the screen and begin to prepare towards it. uh, since it's virtual, so your presentation or your pitch should be able to address these questions, so they don't need to ask you, but whatever you're presenting in this short 1 2 minute video, you should be able to like help answer all this. All right, thank you from this end. I don't know if you have any question. You can always shoot me an email, follow me on X, and then you watch uh, for our next event. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. That was
Do we have any question on the group or something? LinkedIn, the X.
okay. Thank you for that. That was a very good presentation on documentation, especially the touch point on the read-only file. Oh, we also have our regional app coming up. I don't know if you have the picture there with you. We also have our regional app coming up on the. You go ahead and get this file so I can present it. It's going to be happening in Lagos. So whatever you are, I can. Okay, yeah, I can.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. But before then, I would want to ask John to throw one or two light on the regional hackathon. Uh, John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah. GM everyone. So for the regional hack in Lagos, it's scheduled for 36 hours, where we're going to have builders and developers from across Nigeria converging in Lagos to build their projects and submit for the hackathon. For the regional hack, there's a prize pool, a bounty of 1.5 million naira that is going to be distributed for winning projects at the regional hacks. But those projects also that submitted for regional hack and won also qualify. Both the qualified and non the winning and not winning projects also qualify to participate in the main hackathon because they submit the projects there. Once the projects are submitted, regional hack is the registration is ongoing. The link will be shared on the platform and in the chat. You could just check it out. They are register to build your project, submit it, and participate and be a participant for the regional hack. We're really looking forward to the project you are submitting for the regional hack. So the link will be shared on YouTube, on X. Just check it out. Register for it. Register on the main platform, the HackQuest main platform, and the Lemonade link that will be shared. Registration on the Lemonade link qualifies you to attend the regional hack in Lagos. Qualification on the registration on the HackQuest platform qualifies you to participate in the main hackathon. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, and for us, our viewers on X and YouTube and StreamYard. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we had a wonderful session for the past 3 weeks. We had like 3 sessions and addressing a whole lot. So we expect results, quality, and we expect to host you at the regional hack. And yeah, we expect winnings. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Idris. Thank you, John and Esther for anchoring this wonderful session. And to you guys, stay blessed, stay safe, and to then.